God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my job shop. My name is Keith and I'm your host here today. Today, I'm going to level with you my Brown & Sharp surface grinder. All right, we're ready to get it down onto the floor, and I made some mounts. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I did. All right, we found a sheet of this rubber shit. It was wedged in between one of my Kennedy boxes, the top and the bottom. I didn't have a matching one for both of them, so I decided to go ahead and consume it into something that I needed. And I need a non-skid surface. And this is going to do that. The very first thing I did was machine plasma cutout and then machine the tapped hole in the center of these steel wafers here. Then I took a piece of Delrin, okay, it's about a 4-inch slug, and I bored a hole in it, and then I turned a recess on both sides. First recess was for this slug to fit in there, and the plasma cuts were all pretty simple and similar, so they're all the same, you know, they stick in there really good. And I was going to glue this other piece in here as well, but it sticks in there. All right, so that's going to be our base for the surface grinder to sit on. All right, now let's go down and look at it, because we have about 3/4 of an inch of unevenness on the floor. This shop is pretty old, and every floor was made for drain. We're sitting on just a plain 2x4 here, and a 2x4 on this side, plus a 3/4 inch piece of timber there. And we put this down here, and we come across our 2x4, we measure down, and we get 400 thousandths. Over here on this side, we come over here, and we measure down, and we get 1/200. So that verifies that this side here is going to be 3/4 of an inch higher than that side, and also the whole machine is basically going to drop down 400 thousandths from where it's at now, which we knew that it was going to go down, but we didn't know exactly how much until we made our pads. I've got 4 screw jacks. Actually, I got 5, because I got 2 on the rear that I wasn't sure about, and I can move the timbers front and back. Now we're only going to be putting in 1 foot at a time, so we're just going to be twisting out 1 support at a time to go ahead and install each of the feet. And so we're going to start on the rear, because that is the most difficult to actually get to comfortably. And in fact, I might actually take and pull my vacuum system out this way so I can get to that far corner there much easier. But I might be able to get right to it. We got to plan out and go pick up our hardware out in the container for our screws to come down. So we're going to take a measurement, what we need, and we're going to go get those, and we're going to come back in and we're going to start slipping these into place. We do have to make 2 3/4 inch high spacers to start with. And then from there, we'll shim with washers or figure out exactly what it needs and machine an exact thickness of spacer for our feet as we go. All right, I put the far corner in. I have two 2.5-inch bolts that will work fine on that side over there. And I didn't have any 3-inch bolts, which I need over here. So I just got my mill studs right now, and that's what I'm going to use in here until I can replace them. Once I can pull these out and then screw the finished bolts in when I pick them up at the store. So now we want to go ahead and pull this out and knock that little cobweb out of the way. We take our foot, put it down on the ground here. Now, this is the side we need the 3/4 spacer, so I'm going to go make up a little spacer and then we'll be able to put it in there, and we'll come back to the front because we need a 3/4 spacer here and a 3/4 spacer to take up the difference of that board there. We made 2 spacers here, 3/4 of an inch thick. Let's check our, okay, it's like right on the money. All right, we don't want to be any different than this piece of wood here. All right, let me see here. All right. All right. I don't know. Huh? Okay. We got something under the back. Let's get something under the front here. All right, one more. Okay. I think I'm going to get my heel bar and I'm going to put it in here and pull those 2 out there, and then it'll be setting solid here in the front, and then I can probably let off that 4 corner, put the heel bar over here, pull the last jack out. I think I said heel bar, but I meant my Johnson bar. Give me more leverage back here. I just had carpal tunnel surgery on this about a little over a week and a half ago. It's starting to get better, but there we go. It's down off of those 2. Let's see what happened in the back. It might actually went off the backs as well. Okay. Okay. It actually came off all 3 of them, and I was feeling back there, and up in the cavity is actually a bunch of stuff came out, and it's shell driveway and kitty litter and a couple other things that looks like, but it's kind of like soupy mud, and powder in one area. The powder fell out, and then I started feeling up in there. The rest of it is like lightly oil soaked, and that's just because this hasn't always sat on level ground and it does have an oil bath, and it does leak a little oil, but a little oil leaking keeps it from rusting. So they say. All right, so it did scoop back a bit as well. Okay. I'll just have to give you a kind of a still picture of this. All right, and let's take a look at it this way. All right, now we'll bring out the machinist level now. We're going to get it screwed over here. Then we're going to give each of our feet pads a feel, and we want to make sure that we have no rocking and equal support on them. So we can take a little tap, and feel gauge shim, whatever it takes to go ahead and initiate a good foot print for this thing to sit here. I do like the location. This is actually going to clear the little bit. We already had it figured out for its travel to go underneath here, and we knew we were going to gain much more, so we're all good there. I kind of got everything all picked up here, except for my knee mat, and I just hooked that up over there on the lathe because I got to thinking, I go, hey, the lathe is heavier than the surface grinder, and we just need to come back. A little bit. Let's see, we got 4.5 to the edge of the mat there, and we got 5 1/4 here. So what do you got? Like 3/4 of an inch has got to come this way. We're gonna square it off the wall, okay? All right. Let's see what we got. All right, that does fit in there. All right, it is moving and easy. And the lathe staying still, so we're doing good here. Just curious, okay? All right. 4.5. 4 3/8. So we were coming a little bit, both of them at the same time. All right, let me get my big tape measure, and I'm going to just check it off the wall because we were kind of square with the wall to start with. And then we can get this gear off of here, and we'll get our machinist level, and we'll start leveling the piece off. And we know that this is going to be setting somewhat square to it as well. $31 3/4, 31 1/2. Close enough. It's been a day or so. I took a day off, and we were really going well on getting this down on our feet and getting it set up, and I've lost track of the time of the day. And I did find my level, but I had a phone call from Lisa, and we ended up calling it a day. And then yesterday we had a day off. Martin Luther King's Day today. Iowa Caucus Day. Can't wait for this afternoon. All right, let's get to continuing on with my leveling with you on my Brown & Sharp number 2 surface grinder. It's no secret, I handle alignments like I do leveling out my projects as well. This is a little different than the lathe. I remember when I was leveling pearl, and of course some people just say, hey, we can just take a speed wrench and whatever and crank things up and down and watch the dials go around, and that's how they do it. Well, that's fine. That's fine. This is a hard mount. This is shimming to set the level and the foot pressure. So I like to take and put a little math to it, and the math I put to it is figuring out ratio of what we're measuring up here with the level to the span of the feet. So my level is 12 inches long, and this width right here is 23 inches. And then when we turn our level sideways, we're actually only going to be limited to the width of this, which is 6 inches. And this is 20.5 inches between the feet that direction, center to center. So it looks kind of like this. All right, so we got 12 into 23, so we're going to have 1.91 ratio. That's port and starboard. And then 6 into the 20.5 is going to give us 3.41 ratio forward and aft. All right, now we need to figure out what we need to move where and how much. At the same time, right off the bat, you want to know if you're hitting equal on all 4 points. So I just kind of grabbed the top here. Okay, I can feel a rock. So it's basically hitting here and here, and here is rocking. It's wanting to lean back because of the weight's probably towards the back there, and it's sitting a little bit harder. So how much is that rock? Well, we can figure out that by taking one of our indicators here and setting it up on top of the screw on this foot here and lift it up and down and measure that distance, and we're going to find out the first amount of movement that we're going to make somewhere. Okay, we got you zoomed in, and then we're going to loosen up our indicator. We're actually going to connect the mag base here, I think, on the air suction, and I think we can probably set this up right here. Maybe even you'll be able to see how much we can move this. We're going to set this at 0 because we know anything coming up is going to be a plus. Let me see. Can you see that? Okay. You're going to see it well enough. And I'm going to just put my fingers under here. I didn't, need to raise it up because I wanted to see the feet here. I'm going to actually be lifting this up, straight up to where it sets. Okay, I got 118 or so, it looks like. And I'll just do it again. We have a little bit of motion. We don't know nothing's pretty close. You can say 115. Something about there. That's flat down on the ground, but we don't know that angle right there. And this is flat up against the foot. Okay. We're going to call it 115 for just to come up with a number there. Raised our head up a little bit, and I picked out my feeler gauges here because I want to adjust the level and know how much in 1 foot it takes to make the bubble go back into the center. Right now we're slightly outside the line on that side, so we know that it has to come up. And if I'm holding this, it's almost about that amount. So I'm going to take my feeler gauges here and I'm going to put in an amount. I'm going to come slightly this way just so that my screw on this doesn't interfere. Okay, that's a little bit much. So I'm going to go ahead and take a few of these little tiny ones out of here. We want to come out as close as we can for a foot, so our math will come out closer. And it's still a little high. We'll pull out a couple more of the small ones. Starting to come in closer. Okay, we are almost right in the center there. So we're going to jot down this number. 91 thousandths. Okay. Grab our pad here. All right, now we're going to take it, we're going to go in this direction across the table, and it's high over here, and we need to come up something like that. Just a little bit thick. We're going to take out one leaf there. Okay, that looks pretty good in the center. So we're going to measure that. That's 82 thousandths. All right, we're going to multiply those by our ratio, and it's going to give us how much we need to move port and starboard and how much forward and aft. And then we're going to take a look at it, because both of them are, it's up in the back and up over here in this position here. That means that this corner, we already know without making a single calculation, that it needs to go down to bring it more level and make up the difference between forward and aft and port and starboard to level out. So let's put those math together there. Okay, taking one more close look at our bubble. As I pull the machine forward and over to this foot to make contact, this bubble is still positive towards the front end of the machine. So now let's take a look at my calculations for modifying all 4 feet to make this level. All right, port and starboard there we had 91 thousandths. The ratio ends up being 173 thousandths. And then forward and aft, 82 thousandths times the ratio, 279. Now if you took and you subtracted the free amount that was found on this pad right here, we had 58 left over and 164 left over from forward and aft and starboard and port. I'm going to figure that this foot here is 0, and that this foot back here, which is also hitting hard, but it's also the one that we can't adjust. This is a floater, because if you're going to put it down on this one, which we're going to do, this is going to be 0. So we need to add 279 for there, and then we're going to go ahead and remove. Okay, I knew what number I was going to put there. I just happened to be looking at it. Okay, so we got 173, and that's going to be the solid. Those 2 solid numbers right there need to modify to stay with 0. This is the one that's floating, but it's floating plus some. So we're going to have to add to this one. We're going to have to add to the rear one, and we're going to have to remove from this one here. Now, if you take the combination of our averages here after we subtract the 115, which this is halfway in the midway, we still come up with 337. But what I did is I took the 279 and then added in the 115, and we come up with 394. And I'm going to try to create that one, add that one by 394, and that's going to be my first. This is going to be my first preliminary judgment, and I think we're going to be pretty darn close with that dimension right there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and set up. We're going to figure out what we got for some material to add to that rear one, and we're going to take off of this one, and we're going to probably machine another foot to go underneath the rear with that added 394 thousandths on it. This is the shim I'm going to put in the far back on that side. This is the shim here I'm going to put on the back side over there, and this is my faced off shim, or my cut shim, to represent that shim faced off with 173 thousandths. Okay, let's see where we're at now. All right, no rocking. We are darn close. Slightly loose on that one, very little. I can't get any motion out of it except for side to side. All right, I think I'm going to do a machining equally off of the back on both sides. All right. We were almost there. Our math got us darn close. But after a couple tilts here and there, we figured that we had to add 1/8 of an inch back to this one over here, and actually drop this one from our 577 to 1/2 an inch even. And this one over here, we thought we were going to have to add a little bit more to it, but it kind of tilted it in the right direction, and it was just a little bit different than we thought, but darn close. And we're sitting pretty now, and we're happy with both directions. It's our full travel here. Got 1 inch or so clearance underneath there. Our oil's flowing fine. And we don't have any more bad bearing noise in here. So I put up a shelf out here. We have the toolbox over here that's already emptied out, and we're going to start getting our grinding area kind of set up. We may need another shelf or two, or we might need something in here to hold our tooling, because we got a lot of tooling that you have sent in to me, and now we have a sound location and power, and everything's good. Our vacuum, . 'Cause 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 ' And now I'm mounted down. Of course, the hardware stores and stuff are closed today, so I didn't get a chance to get down and get, I need 3" by 3/8 bolts for that. And then we'll put our mill draw studs and nuts back up into the holder there. And you can't be using your tooling to hold your lathe down. Kind of defeats the purpose there. So I hope that's a little, if anything, entertainment for you and or education as far as taking the area you have to work with and kind of projecting it out to where your feet are, and you can get a closer guess than just by sticking things in there and not having to go through as many motions. Now I think now that it's level and running, I'm going to put a couple oil mat, you know, pig blankets underneath this thing. Keep an eye on oil dripping. In the back is some felt baths where oil drips into a felt trough and then feeds out to other areas. All of them look good when I had the thing apart, inspected, put the new belt in the back. And what I found on the back was oil-soaked shell driveway and stuff like that. So it still had some debris in there from when I moved it over from the other place there. And there's no oil around it now. So it's a good chance to go ahead and do that check. And I'm just letting it run through some of the motions. There's a full travel there. All right, until next time, get her done.